My dad once told me the story of him and his friends went to visit his Aunt Berta to a small town in the center of Mexico. While going back to the ranch, it was getting dark, so they decided to take a shortcut through a forest area. Before entering, his aunt told to walk straight ahead and not look at the trees. When they got to the end of the forest area, my dad noticed they were missing a friend, so his aunt told them to wait there. A few minutes later, she got back with their friend, who was pale and wouldn't talk. Once they got back to the ranch, they gave the boy some mezcal and a spoonful of sugar to calm him down. Apparently, he saw people hanging from the trees all staring at him before Aunt Berta found him. I've only gotten to tell this story once, but it was hilarious. One day when it was snowing, in a state where it doesn't often snow, me and my best friend made the decision to hang out and have a sleepover. Cue her texting me, "Bring your bathing suit. It's nighttime, FYI." So I walk down the neighborhood down to her house with my backpack and sleepover stuff, and we hang out, we chill and play Minecraft and stuff. A bit later, when it's like 11 p.m. or SMTH, her whole family makes the decision to go into the hot tub outside. This is her parents, her 2 brothers, and a sister. So we all get changed, we get into the hot tub, we're chillaxing and stuff. Her parents and her younger siblings, 1 brother and her sister, leave the hot tub and go through the basement, which is how we went outside. Here's the thing about this basement door: if it's closed, it will lock itself. We had it propped open earlier with a door jamb, but when they left, they closed the door. We didn't notice until a while later when we were done throwing snowballs at her brother in the tub and we get out. There's only 2 towels for some reason, so he lets us have it while he works on opening the door, which, as you guessed, is locked. We're standing in our bathing suits in the bare feet snow and shivering, even with towels over us. We try to get it unlocked, but it won't budge, so we trek across the snow to the upstairs patio that leads to the living room. No one is there. We bang and shout on the window, but after a few minutes no one comes. So we go to the side gate, and it's frozen shut. Won't even budge. We can't cross the side of the yard to go to the front. Eventually, right as we started trekking all the way to the other side of the property, her mom finally opened a door on the upstairs patio. We all rush in and instantly get changed in warmer clothes. Looking back on it, it was hilarious, and I honestly don't regret it. It was a fun night, and hey, at the end of the day we got hot chocolate. When I was 12, I was super into Metin too. I met another girl there that was supposed to be 5 years older than me, but I felt comfortable around her, cause we were both girls and I felt like I could tell her everything. She asked me to Skype with her, but I didn't have a mic, nor a webcam, so I went to my sister and asked her to call my friend with her laptop. So we started the call, and both of us were waiting for a response. Turns out the friend was actually a 20-year guy. That's not the end, however. My sister and him stayed in contact and started dating later on, which caused a major strain on our relationship, as I was convinced he's just a weird-ass creep, and now he lives in the same house as me in my parents' house. Fun story, I would say. When I was a kid, whose autism symptoms were displayed more prominently, I attended a summer recreational camp. It was a lot of fun, and one of our trips was to a local water/amusement combo park. One of the counselors told us to buddy up, so I went with a girl. We'll call her Mary. Near the end of our trip, the counselor told us to meet her and the other counselors back at a set of picnic tables in 15 minutes. Mary had a watch on her wrist and promised to keep track of the time, and so we went on all sorts of rides together. We ended up being a couple minutes too late when we were heading back. How time flies when you're having fun, and the counselor scolded us for returning late. As a result, she had me and Mary sit on a picnic bench for the rest of the trip duration, which was about a half hour. We couldn't go on rides or anything. Mary apologized to me profusely for what she had done. When my mom found out what happened, she threatened to sue the rec camp and immediately took me out, saying that it wasn't right that we were punished, you could have just scolded them. Especially when we were just 3 minutes late. To this day it's a story that still sticks in my head for some reason. But hey, if it was any consolation. The rides were fun. The worst day I had ever had, school came around and I was in a bad mood. Don't know what started it, but it worsened into math. I didn't know shit and forgot how to do a perpendicular bisector. My friend, thinking it was funny, told everyone in private. Next thing I knew, everyone's laughing at me for having a brain fart. Then in frustration I swore in Spanish class and just flunked my quiz. I suck at it. It didn't matter anyway, but next thing I know my classmates were putting melons in my water and shit. I was slowly losing my shit already, but I had to stay calm for my own sake. But next thing I know, 2 kids threw bread at me, so I stomped it flat and returned to my common room before some kid threw a beanbag right at my face, so I lost my temper and threw the beanbag up the common room. And everyone's got that confused Tom face on them like, OMG, why did he do that? Bitch, you know what? In middle school, my friend and I had this science teacher that we have tons of stories about. We'd have teachers stay in the lunchroom and rotate out and stuff, and he was one of them. And my friend and I noticed that he seemed to be in one place 1 second, and then be in another once we looked around again a few moments later. So we had this whole joke about him being able to teleport. I was talking to someone about this later in the year one morning. We all waited in the cafeteria every morning for like 10 minutes before going upstairs. School was small at the time. I looked around to make sure the teacher was far away and wouldn't hear me, because I was gonna be talking about him obviously. I saw I was in the clear and started talking, but I kid you not, maybe 5 to 10 seconds later I'm saying MR ___ can teleport, and he's right there behind me, and goes, what did you say about me? I'd be freaked out by it, but I find it really funny instead. My little sister, 16, was obsessed with the Duolingo app. To the point where she would loudly do lessons in the middle of the house and brag about her extensive knowledge of Mandarin Chinese to anyone who'd listen. This went on for several months. I got sick of it, and one day I overheard her laughing nervously about a text she had received from the app. Apparently they had sent her an automated message that said something along the lines of, I miss you. Well, I got an idea. Apparently it is a popular internet opinion that the Duolingo owl is a spawn of Satan, and I used this knowledge to hatch a plan. I got an app that you can use to anonymously send texts, and created a few messages that I sent to my sister over the span of a couple weeks. Shit like, I miss you, come back to me, etc. She got a little freaked out, but mostly just laughed it off. Time for phase 2. I discovered that if you dial *67 before a person's phone number, it will show up on their device as a call coming from a private number. Most excellent. I grabbed my old cell phone I had lying around, typed out a message, and had Google Reddit into the microphone of the phone I was using to call my sister anonymously at 3 a.m. She didn't pick up, so I left one of the worst voicemails in the history of cell phones. I still have it written down, as a trophy of this time in my life. Huo? Huo? You are under Aust FO not doing enough Mandarin language lessons. UWU I miss you, come back to me my love. Hoot hoot baby cakes. It was glorious. I wake up the next morning to screams of fear, and she finally deleted that godforsaken app off her phone. I did do a minor follow-up after a few days, when she talked about re-downloading it, and sent a picture of the owl holding a knife through the mail. Now she wants nothing to do with it, and is relearning Chinese correctly from a reputable source, smiley face. Around the end of the school year, my history teacher decided that we're gonna make a model UN taking place in the time of the Cold War. Each of us had to choose from a list of significant events, and choose one of the belligerent countries to represent. I chose to represent South Korea, and I think the conflict was the Battle of Triangle Hill, if I remember correctly. I already knew that speaking fluent English isn't very common in South Korea, so I thought why not do it in their native tongue. I spent days on an app called Tandem, looking for a Korean who speaks well enough English to help me translate my speech and learn it. I had no idea what I was saying the whole time. I just memorized the sounds and repeated it in front of the class. No one understood what I was saying either, but I still got a standing ovation and an A for that. Felt awesome. This is a story my friend from high school told me a year ago. So my friend was part of the theater department, and every year the theater kids put on this big improv show. This year he was the stage manager, the person who's behind the scenes making sure the show is running smoothly, and nothing too crazy happens, and he was super excited about it. They start off the show by playing this improv game called Freeze. Basically you start a skit with two actors, they make up the whole thing as they go, then 15 to 30 seconds into the skit everyone backstage yells freeze. And the two actors have to freeze in place no matter what they're doing. Then they either introduce a new actor or replace one of the existing actors and start a new skit. The game keeps going for a little while, the audience was laughing and having a good time. Eventually it gets to the point where there's two girls fake fighting on the ground. Everyone yells freeze. They introduce a third actor and start the next skit. The two girls don't know what to do, so they just keep on fake fighting. The new guy took one look at them, turned to face the audience, and acted like he was narrating a National Geographic documentary. And here we have two pandas mating. The whole crowd went completely silent. There were parents there, little kids, the principal and assistant principals were in the audience. Nobody made a sound. The two girls stopped fake fighting and turned to look at him. My friend, the stage manager, stood up and immediately yelled curtain. And they went into intermission. Then he dragged the dude backstage and basically yelled at him for 5 minutes. I only wish that I'd been in the audience that day. Okay, a little disclaimer, I remember this as clear as day. I have mentioned it to friends and my wife, but no one knows what the heck I'm talking about. I don't know if I dreamed it or George Lucas took it down, or it was a glitch in the Matrix. Every couple of years I do an exhaustive internet search to find it, but I never have. Anyway, in my college and high school days I was a connoisseur of bad movies. I would go online to find them for me and my friends to watch. We were able to track down an old VHS of the Star Wars Holiday Special back in the 90s. It was, of course, wonderfully bad. Later I was looking around online for our next movie, and to my surprise, I found a second Star Wars Holiday Special. That's right, I found the Holiday Special's sequel. This review had a plot synopsis, pictures, the whole deal. Here is the plot. A kid and his family crash land on Hoth while trying to escape Darth Tyrannus. Yes, that Darth Tyrannus, and the kid gets separated from his family. He encounters a friendly Wampa who takes him to his village, where they celebrate Life Day together. Like I said, this was a very vivid memory, complete with a picture of Christopher Lee wearing a black samurai helmet at the controls of his starship. Also, the kid walking hand in hand with the Wampa in Hoth's ahem snowy, Christmassy, evergreen forest. Like I said, I have looked over and over for this, but have never found it again. I don't know where this memory came from.
Huh!